Imagine a time when a single family held the keys to the financial world. A time when money as we know it was redefined by ambition, cunning, and sheer audacity. The Medici family didn't just shape the Renaissance, they built the modern banking system. But how did they go from wool merchants to financial titans controlling the destiny of kings and popes? And what lessons can we, centuries later, draw from their meteoric rise and eventual downfall? Let's dive into the fascinating world of the Medici family, the dynasty that changed money forever. Our story begins in 14th century Florence, a city buzzing with trade, art, and political intrigue. The Medici family, originally humble wool traders, decided to venture into the world of finance, a risky move in a time when lending money was often seen as morally dubious, even sinful. But Giovanni de' Medici, the family patriarch, had a vision. He understood that lending could be lucrative if done creatively, sidestepping the religious restrictions on charging interest. In 1397, Giovanni founded the Medici Bank, and it quickly became the cornerstone of the family's fortune. But what set the Medici apart from other bankers of their time? Giovanni wasn't just lending money, he was lending trust. At a time when financial systems were unstable and prone to collapse, the Medici Bank introduced practices that inspired confidence. They diversified investments, maintained meticulous records, and cultivated relationships with the most powerful figures of the time. Now here's where things get really interesting. Giovanni and his successors pioneered the concept of branch banking, creating a network of banks across Europe. From Rome to Bruges, Venice to London, Medici branches popped up in key trade hubs, making the bank a financial empire. This decentralization allowed them to manage risk more effectively and seize opportunities in diverse markets. But the real genius? The Medici invented financial instruments that allowed them to skirt the church's ban on usury. Instead of charging explicit interest, they used currency exchanges and fees to generate profit. For example, if a merchant needed 100 florins in another city, the Medici would provide it, for a fee disguised as an exchange rate difference. It was ingenious, subtle, and incredibly effective. As their wealth grew, so did their influence. The Medici didn't just bankroll businesses, they financed the Catholic Church itself. Giovanni's son, Cosimo de' Medici, took things to the next level. Known as Cosimo the Elder, he turned the family fortune into political capital. Cosimo became the de facto ruler of Florence, though never officially holding office. His strategy? Patronage. The Medici poured money into the arts, architecture, and education, commissioning works from the likes of Brunelleschi, Donatello, and a young Michelangelo. By funding public works and cultural projects, they won the hearts of the people and cemented their legacy as Renaissance visionaries. But make no mistake, this wasn't just altruism. The Medici understood the power of optics. By associating their name with beauty and progress, they shielded their wealth and political machinations from public scrutiny. At its height in the 15th century, the Medici Bank was the largest and most respected financial institution in Europe. It handled accounts for the Pope, managed royal finances, and even influenced international trade. Their signature currency, the florin, became the gold standard of the time, accepted across Europe for its reliability. But success breeds enemies. The Medici's immense power made them a target, both politically and financially. Rivals plotted against them, and the volatile nature of the banking world meant that even a small misstep could have catastrophic consequences. The Medici Bank's downfall began with mismanagement. Cosimo's successors, particularly his grandson Lorenzo de' Medici, known as Lorenzo the Magnificent, lacked Giovanni's financial discipline. Lorenzo was a brilliant patron of the arts but a reckless banker. Under his leadership, the bank began extending risky loans, often prioritizing political alliances over profitability. One infamous example was the bank's relationship with Edward IV of England. The Medici extended massive loans to the English crown, but when Edward defaulted, it dealt a severe blow to the bank's reserves. Meanwhile, internal corruption and poor oversight weakened the institution from within. Branch managers engaged in fraudulent activities, and a lack of centralized control allowed these issues to spiral out of control. By the late 15th century, the Medici Bank was in freefall. Lorenzo's death in 1492 marked the end of an era. Without his charisma and connections, the family struggled to maintain their grip on power. By 1494, the Medici were expelled from Florence, and the bank, once the pride of Europe, was dissolved. But why did the Medici fail when they had all the advantages of wealth, power, and innovation? The answer lies in a lack of adaptability. The financial world was changing rapidly, with new competitors and technologies emerging. The Medici relied too heavily on their reputation and failed to innovate beyond Giovanni's original vision. Now here's where it gets relevant to us. The Medici story isn't just about Renaissance Italy, it's a timeless lesson in the rise and fall of empires. Think about modern financial giants like Lehman Brothers or Enron. Both collapsed under the weight of mismanagement and hubris, much like the Medici Bank. The Medici remind us that no institution, no matter how powerful, is immune to failure if it loses sight of its core principles. And what about their innovations? The Medici's financial instruments were the forerunners of today's complex financial systems. Their ability to navigate regulations and adapt to a hostile environment paved the way for modern banking. Even cryptocurrencies, often hailed as the future of finance, owe a debt to the Medici's creative problem-solving. So what can we learn from the Medici? First, diversification is key. The Medici Bank thrived when it spread its risk across multiple markets and clients. Second, reputation matters. Giovanni built his empire on trust, a principle that remains the cornerstone of any successful financial venture. And finally, innovation is essential. The Medici rose to power because they dared to challenge the norms of their time, but they fell because they stopped evolving. The Medici family may be long gone, but their legacy is all around us. In the banks we use, the currencies we trade, and the financial systems that govern our lives. Their story is a reminder that history isn't just something we study, it's something we live every day. So what do you think? Could a modern-day Medici family rise again? Or has the world become too complex for such dynasties to exist? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories of wealth, power, and the lessons they hold for us today.